everybody, this is Chewy Plays Nintendo, and today I want to revisit my analysis from last week and talk about some of the things viewers have pointed out about the trailer that I missed. A lot of you have pointed out a number of things that I felt were worth looking at again. So to begin, let's start by talking about the common butterfly. In my video last week, I mentioned that I didn't know if the butterfly at the beginning of the trailer was a new butterfly or a redesign of a common butterfly. Well, many of you pointed out that we do get to see a common butterfly later in the trailer, confirming that the butterfly at the beginning is in fact a new butterfly. It was also confirmed by some users that the butterfly is a tree nymph, so it's very clear that so far we are going to be seeing new types of creatures in this game. And we actually got a sneak peek of one in the treehouse that I'll talk about, of course, later during my treehouse analysis. The next thing I want to talk about is snails crawling on the rock. I intentionally skipped pointing out many of the bugs in the trailer. I didn't really point out the Raja Brook found in the trailer here, but as it's clear from the common butterfly, there were many that I missed. I did not notice the snail crawling on the rock in the scene during the rainy weather. This is an exciting find because it confirms that weather-dependent appearances are making a return, as snails in the previous games also appeared during rainy weather. This, of course, will give us more variety as we play throughout the year, and we'll be on the lookout for different weather patterns to find different bugs and fish and anything else that we can collect. The next thing I wanted to revisit was the springtime scene that we saw. Now, we didn't get too much spring in this trailer, but there was one little clip that showed off the spring weeds design. Some people pointed out that we can see the spring design for weeds during spring. In this scene, you'll notice across the river, there is our first look at the weeds during the spring. So now we have seen the weeds during spring, summer, fall, and winter. We know that this scene is from springtime because of the cherry blossom coloring on the trees. I'm excited to get a better look at the weeds in the spring because this is kind of distant and pretty blurry, but this is the season we got the smallest view of in that front, so I want to see more of it in general. But I really just want to see more of the autumn and winter scenes as well because we didn't get to see too much of those. Well, that's all of it. There's absolutely nothing left to talk about that I missed. Nothing at all. Alright. It's the topic many of you were waiting for. We need to go over the situation with this rock. Now, I definitely missed that the rock was still in the scene as I claimed that it was missing and replaced by the bench that we see here. But I think it's more complicated than the rock being there. As I watched the trailer, I couldn't help but still think something was different. I overlaid these two scenes together to see what was happening with this rock. Though the rock is still there, it does appear as if the rock has moved. Now, it is hard to tell because the perspective changes, but I decided to break down the positioning of each object and determine if the rock has moved. As you can see, it appears as if the bench swing has taken the place of the rock. In this shot, we can see that the swing is right next to the rock. Did the rock's position change? Well, I made a grid to capture the position of the rock relative to the house and the other objects. In the first grid, we see the rock is 5 spaces from the home. In the next shot, we see that it has moved over 1 space and is now 6 spaces from the home. The bench has clearly taken its place and is placed right next to the rock. This brings up a lot of questions. Is it possible to move rocks? Was the rock moved by the developers to better utilize the space for the trailer? It's hard to tell, but I do know that we can craft stumps to sit on for the beach, but we can also have stumps that exist from cutting down trees, so maybe this is a craftable rock, or maybe we can just move rocks. Are we going to be able to destroy rocks and replace them in other locations like trees and flowers? I don't know, but we've already seen a very new way of interacting with trees in this game. We saw the character dig an entire tree up and put it in their pocket in this trailer. Perhaps we'll be able to dig up rocks this time and move them to other locations. In this case, conveniently 1 space over from where it was previously. Whether we can move rocks or craft them, I am excited about the possibility of choosing the location of the rocks around our town. Finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about was that trees could possibly grow right next to cliffs. This was pointed out to me by Swilly, our resident Texan on Discord, and another viewer here on YouTube. In the winter scene, we can see a tree growing right next to the cliff to the right of the house. I didn't make a grid for this scene, but it does appear that the tree is really close to that cliff. This is something I've actually really wanted in the game. Population growing had fewer restrictions on where trees could grow. They could grow next to the fence at the very northern portion of town, next to walls, next to buildings. They really had a lot less limiting their growth. Seeing as we can move trees, we might be able to move our trees to positions much closer to buildings and walls, even if they can't grow directly in that spot. This gives us much better control over how we shape the nature around our towns. It also really makes me excited because, you all know, I love trees and I want to be able to grow trees everywhere, and right next to my home is definitely one of those locations. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate seeing all of your comments and pointing out many of the different things I've missed in my analysis. I hope you enjoyed me revisiting some of these points and giving you a bit more insight into the trailer. I've decided to take my time with breaking down some of the specific points in the Nintendo Treehouse footage for New Horizons, so I don't know when I'll finish that video, but I do know somebody requested hearing my ideas for New Horizons. I have come up with some things the game can do based on what we've seen so far, so look forward to that video next week. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!